Chapter 949 Little Rose Garden. In the bedroom, Yuanwan laid in bed, unable to fall asleep. She was holding her phone while looking through Tongtong's photos. The more I look at him, the cuter he gets. Yuanwan sat up right away and sent Si-Han a text. Your Highness, may I know when you'll be free? Meanwhile, Si-Han was attending a business function. Lately, although Yuanwan pressured him to promise he would sleep on time, he didn't stop to rest at all, and his itinerary was cut in half. Si-Han was talking to a couple higher-ups when his phone suddenly rang. He glanced at his screen and saw Yuanwan had sent a text. Si-Han replied with 3 words. What is it? Yuanwan replied within seconds. If you're free, let's have a baby. Cough. Si-Han choked on his wine. Sui quickly rushed over and asked nervously, Master, are you okay? He had never seen Si-Han lose himself in public. What happened exactly? Si-Han raised his hand, indicating he was fine. He headed to the little garden at the back of the ballroom and gave Yuanwan a call. Yuanwan answered very quickly, Aya. Why did you call? Si-Han. What did you mean just now? Yuanwan laughed. Ha ha ha. Nothing. I just felt quite bored all of a sudden. Bored? So, you want to have a baby for fun? He was almost used to the way her brain worked. A tinge of helplessness appeared in Si-Han's eyes. I'll be back the day after tomorrow. So soon? Yuanwan blurted out in surprise. What sort of person was Si-Han? He obviously noticed the change in Yuanwan's tone, so he replied, Soon? Yuanwan hurriedly said, No. What I meant was that you don't have to rush at all. You must be careful with your health. It's fine if you return a little later. Si-Han. Is that so? Yuanwan had a headache. Must this guy be so sensitive? He could tell something wasn't right just by a slight change in my tone. Yuanwan quickly said, Of course. I was just worried about you. What else could it be? Did you think I was hiding a man in the house and was afraid you would find out when you suddenly returned? Si-Han. Yuanwan changed the subject quickly. Oh right, when you're back. Isn't Mr. Mu coming over to see Corporation for an inspection? I'm already quite familiar with the etiquette. Just send all the relevant documents regarding Mr. Mu to me so I can familiarize myself and make some preparations. Si-Han. Thankfully, Si-Han didn't probe further. After they hung up, Si-Han looked out into the darkness like he was pondering over something. He had secretly dispatched some people to protect Yuanwan, but they were in charge of her safety, not monitoring. Aside from her safety, he hadn't asked them to report back and only needed to know she was safe. However, Yuanwan really didn't sound like her normal self just now. Even if she sounded normal, he knew she was hiding something from him for sure. Little Rose Garden. Yuanwan had regrets the moment she hung up. She should have just told Si-Han the truth. Why didn't she have the guts to do it, making herself feel so guilty? She made it look like she had an illegitimate child behind his back. I'm so dead. Chapter 950. This sudden feeling where she didn't want Si-Han to see Tang seemed to have emerged from her subconsciousness. Yuanwan was unable to understand why she felt this way. Was it because Tang resembled herself, and she was afraid Si-Han would misunderstand? Yuanwan kept thinking it over and over, but she couldn't come up with a reason. After hanging up the phone, Yuanwan went to the other room to see Tang, worried that the little fella might not be able to sleep well in an unfamiliar environment. Yuanwan opened the door gently and was stunned. There was no one in bed. Yuanwan instantly became scared. Tang? She searched around the house and couldn't find him. Finally, she saw a small silhouette on the balcony. She could only see that the little fella was still wearing his adorable pajamas, sitting alone by himself. Yuanwan's heart strangely ached. Could it be that Tang had spent the past 2 nights sitting there? She should have realized sooner that such a young child, who left his home and entered an unfamiliar environment, wouldn't feel at home so soon. Tang, why are you sitting here? Are you having trouble sleeping? When the little fella heard Yuanwan's voice, he froze. Mommy's here. What is it? Are you not used to sleeping here? As Yuanwan asked this, she noticed the light from Nye Tang Zhao's phone that was on the round table. On the screen was a photo of a man. Yi Wanwan hadn't clearly seen the photo when the phone screen went dark by itself. She had only been able to notice the number 1 labeling the photo. What did the label mean? Could there still be a 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6? Of course, at this moment, Yi Wanwan would never have guessed that this was one of the candidates Tang Tang suspected could be his dad. Yi Wanwan didn't think about it too much, and instead, she rubbed the little fella's head. Mommy will sleep with you, okay? The little fella looked up and replied seriously, Mommy, I can sleep by myself. I was just thinking about some matters. Yi Wanwan laughed when she heard the little boy say seriously that he was thinking about some matters. That's not possible. If you don't sleep at night, you won't grow any taller. At that moment, Tong Tong's straight face really resembled a certain someone. Damn, am I feeling guilty? Instead of Tang Tang being my illegitimate child, he seems more like Si Han's illegitimate child. All right? Yi Wanwan directly took the little fella's small hand and returned to the house. She tucked the little fella into bed, then she laid down next to him. Baby, how about Mommy tells you a bedtime story? The little fella was lying next to his mommy. His small hands grasped the edges of his blanket, and his big eyes looked like stars as he gazed at Yi Wanwan expectantly. Yi Wanwan felt as though her heart had softened into mush as she softly began. A very, very long time ago, there was a little girl. Everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood because of the really nice-looking red hood given to her by maternal grandmother. One day, Little Red Riding Hood went to deliver a cake to her grandma, but on the way there, she encountered a big gray wolf. Little Red Riding Hood had never seen such a handsome wolf, so she decided to hoodwink the wolf with her cake. Damn, she nearly told the wrong version. Yi Wanwan immediately stopped herself and quickly switched versions. Cough, cough. When Little Red Riding Hood saw the wolf, a wolf she had never seen before, she didn't know about the wolf's vicious nature. Thus, she told the wolf she was going to the forest to visit her grandmother. And then, under the dim yellow light, paired with a gentle, soothing voice, the little fella slowly closed his eyes with his soft, small face pressed against his mommy's hand as he fell into a sweet slumber. Chapter 951. On the other side of the ocean. At the top of a grand and prestigious building, the symbol of a black eagle was shining beneath the sunlight. In the hall, a stern-looking middle-aged woman was sitting at a table. She appeared cold and indifferent as she waited there. A brief moment later, a man in a black suit, who wiped his sweat as he respectfully strode in, said, Madam Nye, excuse me for not going out to greet you. What brought you to visit our Black Eagle mercenary group? The woman expressionlessly replied, I'm ordering an S-rank warrant. His expression immediately changed when he heard that. Madam Nye, who are you trying to apprehend? Who could possibly have offended the Nye family to the point that Madam Nye had to come personally to request an S-rank warrant? Did the standalone island want to revolt? The woman glanced up. Nameless Nye. The corners of the nervous man's lips twitched. Did I mishear? The target of the warrant is her own son. Right as the man in the suit didn't know what to do, a man wearing gray robes strode in. Once the man in the suit saw him, he felt as though his lucky star had come to save him. And Mr. Nye, the madam said she wanted an S-rank warrant for young Master Nye. The gray-robed man walked over to the woman's side and lightly coughed before he tried to dissuade her. Madam, things might not be as bad as you think they are. Didn't Ling Feng and Ling Yun already say Tang Tang is fine? The woman didn't say anything. She only glanced coldly towards the man. The gray-robed man suddenly turned towards the man in the suit. Didn't my wife already give you orders? What are you still dawdling here for? Go send the warrant. S-rank. The man in the suit nearly broke into tears. Boss, oh please, that's enough. At that moment, the gray-robed man's phone started ringing. The gray-robed man carefully glanced at his phone. Madam, it's our son calling. The woman quietly replied, Our son? The gray-robed man immediately replied, Cough, cough. It's our unfilial son calling. I'm just going to answer to see what he has to say. He walked away some distance before lowering his voice and speaking directly into his phone. Son, your mother just ordered an S-rank warrant for you. Nameless Nye, who was on the phone, was surprised. Dad, tell me about something honestly. What? Am I really your child? You brat. At this time, you can still joke? Your father. I haven't rested a single day because of you. How could you come up with such a junk idea? How could you casually find someone to impersonate Worryless? Nameless Nya weakly replied, Dad, I didn't casually find someone. That girl is really good. I even have a photo here which I think can save me. I just sent it to you. Quick, show it to Mom. Once she sees it, I don't think she'll be angry at me anymore. You think one photo can alleviate her anger? You really think that's possible? This time, even coaxing from me doesn't work. Nameless Nya went silent for a moment before he replied, Father, do you have some kind of misunderstanding about your position in our family? Hey, you brat. What did you say? I dare you to say it again. Nameless Nya reminded his dad and urged him to show the photo to his mother, then hung up the phone. The man didn't have a choice and did as Nameless Nya instructed. He brought his phone over to the woman. Madam, that brat sent a photo and said I should show you. The woman's gaze became several degrees colder. What is there to see? You tell him to immediately bring back Tang Tang. Otherwise, I have nothing to say to him. Cough, cough. Just look at it first. The gray-robed man opened up his phone screen. Indeed, Nameless Nya had just sent over several photos to his email. Regarding her cross-dressing as a man, she already explained it to Tang Tang the night before. Originally, she thought she would have to explain a lot in order for him to understand, but Tang Tang's level of comprehension was very high. She only needed to explain a bit before he understood, and he even knew that when she was dressed as a man, he needed to team up with her by not calling her mommy. He was even more dependable than his uncle by far. This was why Yuanwan wasn't worried at all that bringing Tang Tang along would be inconvenient. Thus, Yuanwan ultimately decided she would bring Tang Tang with her. Baby, wait in the car for Mommy. Mommy forgot something. Okay. The little fella obediently nodded. Yuanwan hadn't left for long before her phone, that was in the car, began ringing. Nye Tang Xiao glanced at the phone and saw the caller ID on the screen that read, Most Beloved Darling. Chapter 953 Most Beloved Darling. When Nye Tang Xiao saw those 3 words, his little face became frozen. The phone kept ringing. The caller ID kept flashing on the phone screen. Outside the country, inside a certain suite at a luxurious hotel, Si Han was frowning as he held his phone. Every time he called Yuanwan, he called according to her schedule so it would be convenient for her to answer, so she should be able to answer within seconds. However, no one answered this time. Sui, who was standing to the side, held a big pile of documents. He asked, Ninth Master, what is it? Did Miss Wanwan not answer the phone? Si Han didn't reply. With his hand, he pinched the space between his brows. He felt that lately, he couldn't focus and was overthinking too much. It was probably because she wasn't in his line of sight. Sui boldly replied, Miss Wanwan has a screening today. My guess is that she headed over to the production team early, so she must be busy right now. Sui sighed inwardly. His master appeared frightening and cold to others as though nothing could affect him, but when it came to matters concerning Miss Wanwan, after waiting a while, the line appeared like it was going to automatically cut off since no one was answering the call. Si Han was about to put his phone away when the call suddenly went through. However, even though the call went through, no one spoke from the other end. The screen showed the counter for the duration of the call, and the seconds began to jump up. Very quickly, 5 seconds went by and the silence dragged on. As the seconds continued to count on, Si Han's gaze deepened bit by bit. Sui, who was still standing quietly to the side, observed as his master's expression became rather strange and filled with suspicion. What's going on? Why isn't anyone saying anything? After another few seconds, no one had said anything still. Si Han glanced down at his phone screen, then expressionlessly asked, Who are you? Upon hearing his master's 3 words, Sui was shocked. Fuck. What happened? Miss Wanwan wasn't the one who answered the phone? However, Sui was positioned fairly close to master, but he hadn't heard the person over the phone saying anything. How did his master know the person wasn't Miss Wanwan? There was still no reply from the person over the phone after Si Han asked this question. Doot doot doot. Soon after, the phone transmitted the sound of the line hanging up. Sui stared at the phone and took a deep breath, not daring to make a sound. How did Miss Wanwan's phone end up in someone else's hands? At that moment, Si Han's phone flashed. It was a text message from Yi Wanwan's phone. Si Han stared at the notification. He peered down at it, then he clicked it open with his finger. And who are you? This message confirmed it wasn't Yi Wanwan. The atmosphere became tenser by several degrees. Si Han directly replied back. Her caller ID should answer your question. This reply. One hit KO. The caller ID was most beloved darling. Did they even need to ask who he was? Their relationship was clearly beyond friendship, and he could even be said to be the one who was most intimate with her. After Si Han sent this message, there was no reply from Yi Wanwan's phone for a while. Some time passed, and a reply was finally received. Inside the message was, Yesterday night, she slept with me. Chapter 954 Bang. The sound reverberated throughout the hotel's luxury suite. The documents originally in Suyi's hands were scattered across the floor. When he unintentionally glanced at the message on Si Han's phone, Sui felt like he was almost scared to the point of pissing his pants. Shit. Seriously, what did I just see? Right now, someone else was in possession of Miss Wanwan's phone. That person also used Miss Wanwan's phone to send a text to his master that read, Yesterday night, she slept together with me. Slept together? These 7 words strung together were so powerful. They were practically an epic atomic bomb. Suyi's spirit seemed to have broken into pieces as he stiffly turned his neck to watch his master's reaction. The aura his master was exuding was extremely chilling due to his icy expression and the murderous intent in his eyes. With pacification and taming from Miss Wanwan, his master had nearly become a saint. He was neither arrogant nor angry nor impatient, but because of this new incident, everything reverted back to how it once was, and the doors of hell had opened again. 9th. Ninth Master. There must be some kind of misunderstanding here. Sui was so scared that he couldn't even finish his sentences properly. However, Miss Wanwan's phone really was in someone else's hands this early in the morning. They even sent this kind of message without explaining things clearly. Damn, why is it that Miss Wanwan rarely has anything going on, but when she does, she scares everyone to death? Si Han stared at the message on his phone and suddenly had flashbacks to Yi Wanwan's behavior when she was talking to him the night before. When I said I would be returning the day after, her tone seemed as though she didn't want me to return so early. He didn't want to suspect her, but this time, his instincts told him things weren't right. Sui, book the next flight back to China. But Sui wanted to dissuade him, but when he saw his master's expression, he immediately abandoned his idea. Yes, I'll go do that now. Outside the little house of Rose. Inside the car, Nietang Xiao was staring at the message. Her caller ID should answer your question. His little face tensed up as anger flashed through his dark gaze. He remained that way until he replied back with, Yesterday night, she slept together with me. Only then did the little fella's expression lighten up a bit. But when he saw the sender's saved name again, he instantly pursed his lips. Baby, mommy is back. Let's head out. When Nietang Xiao heard Yi Wanwan's warm voice, he quickly placed the phone back. Yi Wanwan opened the car door and sat in the driver's seat, oblivious to how her phone was now located on the stand on the dashboard when it was left on her seat earlier. Due to her worries about being overly busy and not being able to take care of Tang Tang, Yi Wanwan also picked up Tang Bin and Song Chong. At this moment, the little fellow was obediently sitting in his seat like usual, so Yi Wanwan didn't notice anything off with him. The little fella lowered his gaze to mask the distress in his eyes. He knew he shouldn't have done what he did, but it was just so infuriating. I'm clearly mommy's most beloved darling. The car continued smoothly down the road. Yi Wanwan was seated in the front, focused on driving while in the back. The quiet Nietang Xiao asked, Can I ask you two misters a question? Tang Bin and Song Chong instantly sat upright. Tang Bin, of course. Song Chong, ask away, ask away. Nietang Xiao, Who does mommy love the most? When the duo heard this question, they looked at each other with surprise and began to sweat. This was a life or death type of question. Chapter 955. If they had known this earlier, they would have stayed at home and gone through their monstrous training. Why did they have to answer such a terrifying question? Who did their master love the most? Was this even a question that needed asking? Although they hadn't been by their master's side for long, even they knew that the one their master loved the most must be the Sea family's gorgeous family head. Who was their master? She was the beautiful Black Widow who had countless boy toys. But now, because of the head of the Sea family, she gave up a huge forest of men. She came a long distance to China so they could see each other every day and have sweet, romantic dates. In her eyes, other men weren't even worth a single glance. That was true love. The answer was very obvious. However, the duo's instincts told them something. They absolutely could not tell the truth. Tangbin decidedly said, "The person master loves the most. That of course would be you, young master." Song Chong followed his lead. That's right. Aside from you, young master, who else could it be?" Unfortunately, the little devil was clearly not that gullible. Is that so? Tangbin, yes. Song Chong, yes. Right as the duo began trembling in fear, the second life or death question came. Nietang Xiao, the person whom mommy calls baby. Who is that? Damn, baby? Their master would only use such an intimate title for none other than the gorgeous family head. There was no escape. The two glanced at each other, both thinking in sync. Wouldn't that be your own father? After the young master arrived, they secretly wondered several times who his real father could be. After thinking it over many times, they concluded that the family head of the Sea family was most likely the father. But what if he wasn't? Their answer couldn't just be a random guess. "Master, save us." In the midst of their internal begging, the car finally arrived. "We're here. You can get off." Subsequently, Yu Wanwan parked the car. The duo felt as though they were granted amnesty, and they hurriedly rushed the little fella out of the car. It was all thanks to Yi and Yi Shaoan paying out of their own pockets on advertising that their A Life and Death Struggle premiere screening received so much attention. Headlines describing the incident from the night before had already been plastered all over the tabloids early in the morning. All members of the media had come to today's premiere screening without an invitation. In addition, there were also fans present, so the venue was very lively. "Ah, Gongsu. Luo-chun, I love you." Yi Wanwan arrived at the same time as the main cast members, Gongsu and Luo-chun. They were literally surrounded by reporters and fans as they walked forward. Han Xianyu was following closely behind, since he also played a supporting role in the film as a favor for a friend. When Han Xianyu arrived, the entire venue erupted in screams and cheers. Yi Wanwan's group was taking a different path, so they didn't rouse any attention from the media and the fans. "Come, Tang. We're going this way." Yi Wanwan held Tang Tang's small hand. The little fella nodded and silently peered at the crowd. There were too many people at the venue, so it was too hectic and crowded. He couldn't even make out the three people that were being surrounded. The screening was taking place in a large, open field up ahead. Not far from this place was a hotel for artists and staff. Yi Wanwan first settled Tang in the break room before heading out for her scheduled activities. The main stars that day were the creative staff from the production team. Yi Mu Fan would be attending as the representative from their company. Meanwhile, Yi Wanwan only needed to appear briefly to cut the ribbon with everyone and burn a stick of incense, then she could return to the break room. Chapter 956. At that moment, inside the break room on the top floor of the hotel, the interrogation from hell continued. Nie Tang Xiao was gazing out the window at the crowd of people below. Amongst those three, who does mommy like the most? Clearly, those three referred to Luo Chun, Gong Su, and Han Xianyu. Tang Bin and Song Chong were shivering in fear together. "Please don't ask anymore. King, we beg of you. We're still just kids. We don't know anything." What's up with you two? At that moment, Yuan Wan, who had just finished her duties, opened the door and strode in. As a result, she noticed Tang Bin and Song Chong's expressions of fright. Noth. Nothing. The duo didn't dare snitch and obediently retreated to the side. Mommy. When the little boy saw Yuan Wan, he immediately jumped down from his chair and ran over, revealing a soft smile and glittering eyes. On his pink, flushed cheeks were two little dimples. Tang Bin, Song Chong, King, when you're like this, our hearts can't take it. Big brother. The little fella instantly changed what he was about to call her when he realized he almost addressed her incorrectly. Yuan Wan rubbed the little fella's jade cheeks. It's okay. When no one is around, you can call me mommy. Not only could he call her mommy, but even if he wanted the stars in the sky, she would fly up and pick them for him. About half an hour later, a herd of footsteps rang out from outside the door. The others were coming back in waves. They could see Assistant Xiao Qing and two security guards carrying in a bunch of flowers and gifts given by fans. Luo Chun was following behind, dressed in an army uniform as promotion for the series. Luo Chun was the simple type, but now he was dressed in an army lieutenant uniform with white gloves, black leather shoes, and a belt with a buckle with a shining eagle. This type of outfit really suited him. No wonder all the fans outside were screaming to the point where their voices cracked. E.g., after coming in, Luo Chun headed towards Yuan Wan. Beside him, his assistant was carrying a box which was handed over to Yuan Wan. E.g., this is for you to take back and try. This is? Yuan Wan didn't understand. It's for massaging. Didn't you always say your muscles were sore? My fans gave me a massager and I tried it. It wasn't bad, so I bought another one for you, Luo Chun replied. Ah, grooming a considerate and understanding artist is simply too wonderful. Okay then, I'll try it. Thanks. Yuan Wan wasn't going to be polite with him and accepted his gift directly. She patted Luo Chun on the shoulder then praised him. You look very handsome today. Luo Chun suddenly felt very shy. Thanks. Niet Tang Xiao quietly sized up Luo Chun beside Yuan Wan. When he heard her say, Today, you look very handsome, his expression didn't change, but his brows knit together. Yi-ji, this is? At that moment, Luo Chun finally noticed the child beside Yuan Wan. Oh, this is my brother's child. They didn't have time to look after him, so he's in my care for a few days. Yuan Wan casually explained a bit, then lowered her gaze to gently say to the little fella, Tang Tang, greet them. The little fella raised his head. Hello, Guji. Hi. Luo Chun replied back with a smile. He had never seen such a beautiful child before. The child looked like he came straight out of a painting. Chapter 957. Yap Tang Xiao cocked his small head, sizing up the youth in front of him. Most beloved, darling, could it be this person? Could it be that I was created by him and mommy? This person was truly groomed by Yuan Wan. His potential wasn't bad and his attitude was great. Even though he was already an A-lister with countless fans, he didn't put on any airs. After finding out this was the child of Yuan Wan's brother, Luo Chun chatted even more fondly with Niet Tang Xiao and gave him candy. Niet Tang Xiao held the candy and looked at his mommy then at Luo Chun. The pair acted very familiar and in sync with one another as they discussed their work and scripts. He fell into deep thought. At that moment, another pair of footsteps came from outside the door. It was a person wearing an elegantly retro and white, plaid suit. He was carrying a bouquet of gorgeous lavender baby's breath as he walked in. Behind him were his assistant and a man who appeared to be his manager. His assistant and manager were also carrying similar gifts and fresh flowers in their hands. The person gave off a different vibe than Luo Chun. He exuded a warm feeling of familiarity and made Niet Tang Xiao feel inspired. When Yuan Wan saw this incoming person, she greeted him with a bit of shock. Xianyu, you're already finished? This quickly? The reporters actually let him get away so quickly? Han Xianyu smiled slightly as he walked over. MHM, it's finished. Thankfully, Gong Su was there. When he finished speaking, he handed the bouquet in his hands to her. Yi Wanwan glanced at the bouquet before her and blinked. These flowers were given to you by a fan? Han Xianyu chuckled. No, I'm giving these to you. You've worked hard. Yi Wanwan suddenly clutched her heart. She never imagined she would be flirted with. Mr. Perfect, if your fans found out, they would be so jealous of me. Mr. Perfect. Nie Tang Zhao's ears perked up. Han Xianyu quietly observed the youth in front of him and replied, The fans can only see us actors, who are at the front lines. But it's all right. We all know the effort and struggles you all go through. He knew that the incident involving Su Lin was irreversible, and he had already prepared for the worst. However, he never imagined that this person could once again lead them back from the dead. Ever since he met this person kept creating miracles. No matter how bright the actors shined from the outside, this person was the team's true soul and spirit. Yi Wanwan appreciated the flowers she received. No wonder the fans call you an angel. Han Xianyu is truly too warm-hearted. He thought of everything and was considerate. He always took care of those around him and made them feel warm and appreciated. Han Xianyu watched Yi by caressing and glancing down at the lavender bouquet in his arms. The warmth in his gaze made Han Xianyu's own heart skip a beat. He was clearly a man, yet he was more gentle than actual girls. Han Xianyu was lost in his thoughts when suddenly, he felt a piercing gaze. After glancing around, he saw that the look came from a little boy behind Yi Bai. Han Xianyu. Yi Bai, this is? Since when did he have a kid? Ah, this is Tangdang. He's my friend's child. Yi Wanwan explained things the same way as she did before. Nie Tang Xiao stood beside his mommy, sizing up Han Xianyu. The caution he held towards him was 10 times that of when he observed Luo Chun, a type of flower. Chapter 958. Han Xianyu approached the little fella closely and greeted him. Tang Tang, right? Nice to meet you. Guji, nice to meet you. The little fella replied politely. Han Xianyu glanced at his manager, Fei Yang. Yangji, have the hotel prepare a kid's meal. Okay. Fei Yang nodded and quickly went to place the order. Yi Wanwan. Thanks. She hadn't thought of preparing a meal for Tang Tang herself. After the screening, the production team still had a company dinner. Very soon, the others were also done with their interviews. Yimu Fan walked in as he chatted with several workers. After entering the room, Yimu Fan noticed the eye-catching little boy next to Yi Wanwan. Damn. Yimu Fan immediately pulled Yi Wanwan to the side. This is the child you mentioned before? Yes. Damn. Why did you bring him here? Yimu Fan asked. Yi Wanwan replied, he just arrived in this country and isn't used to everything yet. I can't rest easy if I leave him alone at home. He's only with me for a few days. He's very obedient, so he won't affect my work. Yimu Fan couldn't help but start to develop a headache. That isn't the point, okay? Are you seriously viewing yourself as his real mother? Aren't you overly dedicated? Yi Wanwan. I promised I would take responsibility. Yimu Fan trailed off as suspicion appeared on his face. This child. Yi Wanwan. What is it? Yimu Fan quieted down. This child gave off the impression that he wasn't from a regular family. And why did his facial features resemble his sister so much? Yimu Fan couldn't help but speak out. Why do I get the feeling that this child looks like you? Yi Wanwan replied matter-of-factly. Nonsense. That's because I look like his real mom. Otherwise, his family wouldn't have asked me to impersonate her. Not far away, Nie Tang Xiao was surrounded by employees who were trying to offer him candy. He glanced over at Yimu Fan, and his expression warmed up a bit. It was at this moment that an enthusiastic voice erupted from the door. Mina-san, I'm back. Accompanying the exhilarated voice was a silhouette of bright yellow person skipping in. Gong Su's outfit today was very hard to explain with words. The guy was wearing a pair of ripped jeans with a bright yellow fur jacket. The jacket was from a top brand that mainly designed products for the runway. Although it was very popular, not many celebrities dared to wear it, because wearing it made them look like small yellow chickens. They would look both terrifying and plump. It would simply be a disaster. There was once a daring singer who wore it once, and as a result, He became a joke to everyone on the internet. Gongsu actually wore the yellow chicken jacket paired with an even more frightening black fishnet top underneath. But even though he was dressed like this, he exuded sexiness and seductiveness. Something rotten actually became something incredible. Ha ha ha. Ygg. Aren't I a handsome and cunning chicken today? Gongsu happily swept his fringe, then like a yellow chick, he headed towards Yuanwan. Before he was able to reach her, Yuanwan blocked him with one hand. Calm down a bit. This guy is always so energetic while Luo-chan is too dull. Can't these two even out a little? Oh, Yigg, do you not love me anymore? Aren't I your most beloved darling? A certain someone began his daily whining. This literally translates to thief chicken, but figuratively means cunning and crafty. Here, Gongsu is jokingly using a pun about his appearance. Chapter 959. Yuanwan had long become accustomed to Gongsu's daily attempts of trying to be spoiled. She believed that if she dared to say no, a certain someone would endlessly whine from dusk until dawn. So Yuanwan learned early on how to deal with him. Yuanwan sighed. Yes, yes, yes. Of course you are. Su darling, your makeup is off. Quickly go fix it. When Yuanwan stopped speaking, Nie Tang Zhao's pupils dilated and his little face went pale. Ah, really? Really? Where? As expected, Gongsu instantly stopped begging for attention now that his attention had been diverted somewhere else. Yuanwan let out a sigh of relief. Gongsu took out a small mirror to see his handsome reflection when he abruptly made a surprised noise. Aya, who is that little boy? Why's there a killing intent in his eyes? But not long after, Gongsu forgot his train of thought and excitedly said, Oh, he's so good-looking, so adorable. Yigg, whose kid is this? Yuanwan, my brother's. When Gongsu heard that, his face was filled with admiration. Yigg, your brother, is really lucky. What do you mean? Yuanwan frowned. Gongsu immediately replied, It's said that sons resemble their mothers. This little boy is so good-looking and beautiful, so his mother must be super beautiful. Yuanwan nodded. That makes sense, Gongsu murmured. When I have a child with little candied plum, it will definitely be even cuter than him. Yuanwan, you're really overthinking things, boy. Yuanwan's attention turned to Assistant Dong Zai and the security guard behind Gongsu. They were carrying many colorful things, so she casually asked, What are those? Gongsu instantly flew over protectively. My fans gave them to me. You can't lay your vicious hands on them. Luo-chin and Han Xian, you received flowers and letters, while Gongsu received snacks and food. Yuanwan's expression darkened. Confiscated. No, don't. In the corner of the room, Nie Tang Xiao was watching that whiny yellow chicken hugging a bunch of his snacks. Inside, he felt a mix of very complicated emotions. This can't be real. Soon, it was time for the company dinner. Since everyone knew one another, everyone felt very relaxed and they quickly began to eat happily while chatting and drinking. After Tang Tang was full from eating, he still felt troubled. Yuanwan arranged for someone to take him back to the room to rest. After dinner was finished, Yuanwan also returned to the room and saw that the little fella was leaning against the window with a blank expression. His small silhouette appeared very lonely, leaning against the window. He appeared as though he had just received a big blow. What's going on? Wasn't he just having fun earlier? Yuanwan hurriedly rushed over. Tang Tang. The little fella instantly looked over, and his expression lit up. Mommy. Yuanwan rubbed the little fella's head. What is it? Are you feeling sick? The little fella didn't reply for a moment, then he finally said, Mommy, do you like the Guji who's wearing the yellow jacket? Yuanwan, do you mean Gongsu? Yuanwan thought about it. He was an artist who she had groomed. It was only natural that she liked him, even though Gongsu, that bastard, was a bit overbearing. He was a natural-born star, and was reliable when she needed him to be. Yuanwan replied, that Guji is an artist Mommy personally groomed, so of course Mommy admires and likes him. The same goes for Luo Chanji and Xian Ugg. The little fella predicted that Yi Wan would give this type of general reply and remained silent. Chapter 960. Why did Tang Tang suddenly ask me this question? Yi Wan felt it was rather strange and asked, "What is it, Tang Tang? You don't like that yellow jacket, Guji?" The little boy's expression changed several times before he finally let out a breath. "No, Tang Tang likes him a lot. As long as Mommy likes him, then I will like him as well." Yi Wan expressed her suspicion. Why does Tang Tang appear so burdened? After Gong Su finished eating, he felt bored, so he insisted on heading towards the bar. Yi Wan was with a child, so she couldn't go, but she suggested that they go on without her. Gong Su was naturally not willing, and instead changed the destination to a KTV place. Yi Wan noticed Tang Tang interested in going, so they headed over together. On the top floor of the KTV, there was only one reserved room on the top floor, which was remote and private, ensuring that outsiders couldn't barge in. Inside the reserved VIP room, Gong Su was hogging the microphone while wailing like a ghost and howling like a wolf. Yi Wan sat to the side while peeling almonds to give Tang Tang. The little fella sat obediently next to her. No matter how loud and full of laughter the room got, he didn't complain or move from his spot. He completely defied Yi Wan's expectations and knowledge of the creatures known as children. Han Xianyu casually asked, "Are this child's parents very busy?" Yi Wan didn't reply, and the corners of her lips twitched. If they were busy, that would just be mocking this child. Where on earth could there be such irresponsible parents? Both of them had abandoned this child and went only heaven knew where. At that moment, outside the doors of the KTV, a black Yan had soundlessly parked outside. Sui hurriedly got off to open the passenger door on the opposite side. Because of his momentary carelessness, he nearly tripped. "Special Assistant Sue, are you all right?" the driver asked in a panic. It's nothing. Sui wiped his sweat as he rushed over to open the door for his master. How could it be nothing? Nothing is okay. The incident this time is too severe. Even if I'm scolded afterwards, I still need to inform Miss Wan first. Inside the reserved room, Yi Wan was chatting with Han Xianyu when her phone rang. It was an incoming call from Sui. Why would Sui call me at this hour? Yi Wan took her phone and told Tang Tang, "I'm going to take a call. Be obedient and don't go anywhere." "Nya Tang Xiao. Okay. Go. I'll watch him for you," Han Xianyu offered. "Thank you." Thus, Yi Wan went outside to take the call. As she was leaving, Gong Su immediately dropped his microphone to follow Yi Wan. Yi Ji, are you going to the washroom? I'll come too." Yi Wan was speechless. "I'm taking a call," but Gong Su still tagged along. Gong Su kept following her and asked, "Yi, how come I've never seen you use the washroom?" Yi Wan, why is this bastard focusing on small things like this? Gong Su tugged on Yi Wan's arm. "Yi, let's go together. Yi Wan had a headache. "I'm taking a call. Go by yourself, okay?" Right when Yi Wan was about to answer, she felt something was off. In the next second, she looked up and saw someone who would never come there. The man was wearing a black trench coat and had traveled a long distance to be there. An extremely violent storm was brewing around him. The quiet hallway suddenly became pitch dark and ice cold. Chapter 961. C. Yihan. Yi Wan rubbed her eyes, believing she must have seen things wrong. Aju, isn't he supposed to be out of the country? Last night, he even mentioned he would be coming back tomorrow. Yihan's gaze was focused on Yi Wan's arm, which was still being held by Gong Su. Gong Su shivered. He felt goosebumps all over his body. Oh, is this Yi Ji's boyfriend? Why did he suddenly show up here? And why is he staring at me? What did I do wrong? I only grabbed her arm. How did a single look make me feel as though I'm being sliced 10,000 times? I'm only a child. I didn't do anything. Gong Su gulped and let go of Yi Wanwan's arm faster than lightning. Then he retreated 5 steps away with a swoosh. He. Yi. Yi G. Your boyfriend came. Tidian, I won't bother you too. After he finished speaking, he disappeared in fear for his life. Mother. That was so terrifying. I was almost scared to death. It's fine that Yi likes men, but why did he have to find such a scary one? Isn't his taste too heavy? At that moment, Si Han walked over towards Yi Wanwan. Su Yi closed his eyes. He couldn't bear to watch anymore. He called too late and couldn't warn Miss Wanwan. Even after 2 lifetimes, Yi Wanwan had never seen Si Han looking so frightening and dangerous. He looked so mesmerizing. When Si Han was almost 3 steps away, Yi Wanwan pounced forward like an arrow, wrapped her arms around Si Han's neck, then passionately kissed him on the lips. Darling, why did you come back so early? I really missed you. Si Han. Su Yi. Miss Wanwan. This isn't the time for seduction. If this was the past and his master lost control of his rage, Miss Wanwan would have already begun crying. But her present state was also good. Glancing at Yi Wanwan's glittering eyes and excited expression, Su Yi didn't know how to react. Si Han's cold expression cracked a little. Astonishment and a bit of frustration flashed through his eyes. After a moment, the iciness started to reform. Yi Wanwan was about to speak again when her body suddenly spun. In the next second, she was pushed against the cold wall behind her. Si Han coldly gazed at her. Is it him? Who? Yi Wanwan looked dumbstruck. What did he mean by, is it him? Si Han nearly had to use all of his self-control to suppress his rage. Let me ask you, where were you last night? Even though he was suppressing his anger, the violent storm in his eyes was really a cause of concern. Faced with such a gaze, Yi Wanwan felt an irrational sense of guilt. Last night? Last night, I was at home, in the little house of Rose. Si Han. With who? Who were you with? When she heard this question, Yi Wanwan instantly felt more guilty. She then remembered Si Han didn't know about Tang Tang. So could there have been a misunderstanding? Damn, I thought Si Han was returning tomorrow, so I didn't tell him. I was at home. Who else could I be with, besides myself? In Si Han's eyes, Yi Wanwan's guilty expression took on a different meaning. Chapter 962. Su Yi, who was observing from the side, was very terrified. Originally, he thought that it was all simply a misunderstanding, but now, his heart was beating hard because Miss Wanwan's reaction wasn't right. It couldn't possibly be real. Si Han. Is that so? Si Han's gaze was cold as he showed his phone to Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan peered at Si Han's phone and widened her eyes. This message. I didn't send it. Si Han. Naturally, it wasn't you. Yi Wanwan's mind was a mess, and she quickly processed the situation before finally, she seemed to realize what happened. Someone had used her phone to text Si Han. She looked at the time the text was sent. Wasn't this when I was preparing to head out this morning? The only one who could have taken my phone was Tang Tang? Damn. Yi Wanwan tried to explain. Well, Aju, let me explain. Last night I wasn't alone. I actually admitted it. Shit. What direction is this conversation heading? Su Yi, who was listening at the side, couldn't remain silent and do nothing. Miss Wanwan, don't half-explain things. You must have been with a girl, right? Things had already progressed so far. She definitely couldn't lie anymore. Yi Wanwan lightly coughed before continuing. It wasn't a girl. It was a boy. Last night, I slept with a boy. Su Yi's chin dropped, nearly hitting the ground. Miss Wanwan, don't joke around anymore. Si Han stressed every word when he spoke. Yi Wanwan, say that one more time. Right now, Si Han's expression could practically make children cry. Who is he? Si Han glared at her. Gong Su? Yi Wanwan was dumbfounded. Gong Su? How could that be possible? As Yi Wanwan thought that, a pair of footsteps came from behind them. Yi Wanwan glanced at the small silhouette that appeared behind them. Yi Wanwan quickly replied, "He is the person right behind you." Si Han was speechless and stiffened up. His face went pale, then his nerves bulged out. Sui nearly passed out from fear and rapidly turned to look over. What? The adulterer dared to appear? Si Han's gaze turned to look in the same direction as Yi Wanwan. But it was an empty space. No one's there? Cough, cough, cough. Look down. Lower your gaze a bit. Yi Wanwan coughed as she advised him. Thus, Si Han looked down, then saw the little boy standing before him. Both their gazes collided together as they looked at one another. Sui was tongue-tied as he stared at the little boy. What's happening? Could the boy Miss Wanwan mentioned be this little boy who seems to be 4 or 5 years old? The hallway went silent and only sounds of breathing could be heard. Nye Tang Zhao's expression was more serious than ever. An eternity passed before a voice finally broke through all the silence. "Mommy!" The little boy exclaimed adorably as he looked in the direction of Yi Wanwan. His voice was like lightning that struck the stifling atmosphere. Si Han's pupils contracted. Sui widened his eyes. Damn it! What did the little boy just call Miss Wanwan? Emma mother? Yi Wanwan silently covered her face. Fate, are you kidding me? Chapter 963. So Miss Wanwan slept with a child. Sui thought the crisis had finally been averted. Who knew that in the next moment, he would hear the child call Yi Wanwan mommy? This is 100 times worse than hearing Yi Wanwan slept with a man last night. How does Miss Wanwan suddenly have a son who's so big already? Sui stared at the boy who called Yi Wanwan mommy as his brain tried to process everything. After Nye Tang Xiao called out mommy, his gaze turned to the man standing beside his mommy. Between the two of them, one had an icy demeanor and eyes colored with shock, while the other held a small jade-carved expression filled with deep thought and solemnity. Yi Wanwan looked at the older one, then at the younger one. A thought surfaced in her brain. What was going through my mind that convinced me to agree to help nameless Nye? At that moment, the changes on Si Han's face caused her scalp to tingle. In this life or death situation, Yi Wanwan resolutely headed over to Tang Tang and lifted him up. She then carried him over to Si Han. Si Han looked at the girl in front of him and didn't know what she was trying to do. Yi Wanwan didn't say anything else and passed the little fella into Si Han's arms. Si Han, this is your son. Si Han, Nye Tang Xiao, Sui? What did Miss Wanwan just say? Si Han's iciness converted into shock, and for the first time, confusion appeared on his face as he stiffly held the soft little fella in his arms. My son? Yi Wanwan quickly followed up by telling the little fella in Si Han's arms. Tang Tang, this is what I originally planned to tell you tomorrow, but now, I'll introduce you to him. This is your dad. The little boy in Si Han's arms was as shocked as Si Han. Their expressions were in sync. Nye Tang Xiao muttered, Daddy? Yi Wanwan, yes, correct. Si Han, Sui, may I know what happened? In a few short minutes, there were so many twists and turns that his brain was completely fried. Cough, it's not convenient to speak here. Let's head back first, then talk. Ha ha, Yi Wanwan said as she urged them along. Let's go. She didn't dare look Si Han directly in the eye after telling this lie. Instead, she hurried over to walk in front and disappeared like the wind. Behind her, Si Han was left holding a little boy. The adult and the child were both left blinking. Si Han looked like he had something to say, but in the end, he could only continue carrying the child in his arms. This was likely the first time in Si Han's life that he held a child. His positioning looked awkward, and he didn't seem to know where the arms and legs were supposed to be placed. He helplessly chased after the girl who disappeared. As he did so, Si Han carefully changed the way he held the child, so the little fellow would feel more comfortable in his arms. Meanwhile, the little fellow was observing him. He didn't like being touched by others, and the way this person was holding him was very uncomfortable. He didn't feel as comfortable as when his mommy held him. But why don't I dislike it? Si-han steadily moved forward with the child in his arms. Suddenly, the child spoke up. Chapter 964 Nyetang Xiao. Are you really my daddy? For some reason, when the little fella asked this question, his voice sounded as though a burden had been lifted. Si-han. Si-han also wanted to know the answer to this question. After leaving the KTV, Yuanwan made a call to Han Xianyu to thank him for helping out, and then she let him know she had matters to attend to, so she was leaving. She also arranged for Tang Bin and Song Chong to drive the car back before entering Si-han's Kian. Meanwhile, inside the reserved KTV room, Han Xianyu frowned as he told the others, Yibai has matters to attend to, so he left first. Gong Su, who had managed to sneak back in, went pale. What? He left? Oh dear. Oh dear. Will something bad happen to Yi Ji? Han Xianyu glanced at Gong Su. What happened? Gong Su had a mournful expression as he clutched his little heart and whispered to Han Xianyu, Just now, I went out with Yi Ji and I saw Yi Ji's boyfriend. Yi Bai's boyfriend? Han Xianyu murmured. Gong Su nodded. Yeah, I don't know where he suddenly came from, but he was really scary when he looked at me. He looked ready to kill. I was nearly scared to death. Han Xianyu, what exactly did you do? Gong Su instantly became mad. What do you mean, what did I do? I clearly didn't do anything, okay? Why are you looking at me like I'm a homewrecker? I only grabbed Yi Ji's arm a bit. Can I not at least do that? After saying it aloud, he still felt a bit worried. Xianyu Ji, you don't understand. That man's expression was so terrifying. He looked like he was about to mass murder everyone. Will Yi Ji really be all right? Han Xianyu appeared uneasy. However, this was a matter between a couple. It was best for outsiders not to get involved. Otherwise, the situation would only get messier. Han Xianyu let out a helpless sigh. You know Yi Bai's situation is special. You should keep some distance from him. Gong Su replied, depressed. Keep what distance? Even if Yi Ji likes men, he's not interested in me at all. Han Xianyu. At least he has some self-awareness. He really hoped Yi Bai was going to be okay. He had a feeling that man wasn't simple at all. On the other side of the KTV building, after Yuanwan entered the car, she took out her phone and quickly sent a text to Si-han. Once Si-han reached the car, he opened the door and placed the little fella inside. As he stood outside the car and was about to get in himself, his phone beeped to inform him of a text. He opened it, and it was a text sent from Yuanwan. Agio, later, no matter what I say, please work with me. Please, please. After viewing the message, Si-han frowned. Yuanwan saw Si-han's expression through the window and grinded her teeth as she continued texting. Darling, can't you do this? Si-han still didn't respond. Thus, Yuanwan continued texting. Baby, will you do it? Beloved darling, I'm begging you. Hubby, hubby, hubby. After sending the fourth text, Yuanwan finally received a reply. Most beloved darling, fine. Yuanwan felt so relieved. After Si-han got into the car steadily began to move. The driver sat in the front with Su-yi, while Yuanwan, Nyetang Xiao, and Si-han all sat in the back. The atmosphere inside the car was very strange. Chapter 965. 965 Yuanwan didn't speak, while the other two sitting beside her also didn't speak up. In the end, silence filled the car. The adult and child pair were both comfortable with silence. In the end, no one spoke up throughout the entire journey. The car finally reached the little house of Rose. Sui got out of the car, and with heavy steps, he opened the passenger door, then glanced at the three people before him. His master was standing with Miss Wanwan and the little boy. It was hard to believe, but the picture before him was very pleasing to the eye, and even gave him the impression that they were a lovely family of three. A family of three? When he became aware of his thoughts, Sui suddenly became very scared. I must be going crazy. This little boy seemed to be about 4 or 5 years old, and Miss Wanwan was 20 this year. If this child was really Miss Wanwan's, wouldn't that mean Miss Wanwan got pregnant while she was still underage? If that was the case, his master was such a beast. That was impossible. It was absolutely impossible. How could he have such frightening thoughts? But the child personally called Miss Wanwan Mommy, and Miss Wanwan personally said the child was ninth master's. What's going on here? Where did this child come from? Sui asked Tangbin and Song Chong, who were following them in the back. The duo were very in sync as they shook their heads. If this question had to be asked, the question should be directed to the child's father, no? After returning home, Yuanwan couldn't hide it anymore. Si Han sat on the sofa while Yuanwan brought Nye Tang Xiao opposite him and shamelessly reintroduced them. It was a bit rushed earlier, but let me officially introduce you both. Tang Tang, this is your daddy. After hearing Yuanwan's official introduction, the little fella raised his head and looked at Si Han. Si Han had no visible reaction. Yuanwan hurriedly hinted to Si Han and begged him with her eyes. You said you would work with him. Don't just stay silent. Thus, under coercion from Yuanwan, Si Han finally looked at the little fella and said, Nice to meet you. My name is Si Han, and I'm your father. Yuanwan's jaw nearly dropped to the floor. Why does this opening line sound so familiar? It's practically the same as what Tang Tang said when he first introduced himself to me. Damn. I'm about to suspect that the little fella is actually my illegitimate child with Si Han. After Si Han finished speaking, Yuanwan nervously glanced to see Tong Tong's reaction. The little fella pressed his lips together and after a while, he said, Mommy. Yuanwan immediately replied, Mommy's here. Does Tang Tang have any questions? Nye Tang Xiao, Mommy, you're sure he's my daddy? Is there nobody else? Si Han, Yuanwan. He's asking. Yuanwan replied confidently, of course. Your mommy has only ever loved one person in my life, and that's your daddy. So of course you could only be born from me and your daddy. After she finished speaking, she didn't forget to glance at Si Han. However, Tang Tang still didn't look like he believed her completely. But Mommy, Uncle said you liked a lot of people before. Yuanwan nearly choked to death on her own saliva. Damn. Nameless Nya. That bastard. How could he make a trap for his own sister? Chapter 966. His own sister disappeared and avoided this disaster, and as a result, I'm the one who took the fall. Yuanwan sensed Si Han's gaze on her, and she nearly cried as she hurriedly sent him messages with her eyes. Baby, calm down. With your intelligence, you should clearly realize that this child has nothing to do with me. The person who likes a lot of people also isn't me. Yuanwan could only bitterly explain, Tang Tang, you're still young and there are still many things you don't understand. A person liking a lot of people in their youth is very normal. Yuanwan was still explaining to Tang Tang when she suddenly sensed Si Han's frozen gaze, and she could only weakly ask, What is it? Did I say something wrong? Si Han sat back on the sofa and looked at her as he expressionlessly replied, I've only ever liked you. Yuanwan. Never did she imagine that Si Han would try to ruin her act. He said he would work with her. But why do I feel happy that he did so? Yuanwan used up all her brain juice to reply back. That means you're very lucky. I had it worse since I had to go through so many experiences of suffering and bitterness before I could finally find you. Si Han, Nye Tang Xiao. Yuanwan then continued on, Tang Tang. All you need to know is that you're the result of Mommy and Daddy's love. You are Daddy and Mommy's most precious treasure. The little fellow was speechless, but he finally nodded. Yuanwan had been nervous for the majority of the day, but now, she had temporarily succeeded in appeasing Nye Tang Xiao. She then took the little fella upstairs to wash up and put him to bed early. She had barely been able to deal with the child, but the adult was even trickier. After Tang Tang left, Yuanwan and Si Han were left alone in the living room. Si Han. Explain. You want one. Explaining will take a long time. Sihan. Then shorten it. You want one. All right. Yuanwan didn't have any other option and could only tell him the most crucial points. After she finished explaining, she faced Si Han's expression that read, "You really expect me to believe you?" Even Yimu Fan found the explanation ridiculous, much less Si Han. But that was the truth. Yuanwan angrily huffed. "I know things sound a bit far-fetched, but that's the truth. What kind of eyes are you looking at me with? Do you think I'm lying to you? You don't really think this child is my illegitimate son, right?" When Si Han heard the words illegitimate son, an abyss formed in his obscure eyes. Yi Wanwan angrily continued, "Please, if you think about it, you know it's impossible. I'm still a baby myself. I'm only 20, so how could I have such an old kid? Why don't you think about how this could be your illegitimate child? His personality, expression, attitude, and even his tone is exactly the same as yours." Sihan. Yi Wanwan likely sensed she went overboard and quickly changed direction. "Aju, don't be mad anymore. Tang Tang looks like me and acts like you. Just pretend he's our child and we'll take care of him for a few days, all right?" The corners of Si Han's lips curved upwards. Yi Wanwan tugged on his arm. "Aju, this child is really pitiful. His mommy abandoned him, and no one even knows who his daddy is. He's been with his grandparents since he was young, and he's been looking for his birth parents the past few years, but he still hasn't found them. To be honest, I didn't want you to pretend to be his daddy at first." Si Han stared at her. "Who did you want to act as his dad?" Chapter 967. 967. After Yuan Wan noticed the dangerous intent in a certain someone's gaze, her expression darkened a little. "Are you kidding me? Using you is not all right, and not using you is also not all right? Living is just too hard." "No, that's not it. The first person I thought of was you. Of course, I wanted my boyfriend to help with this kind of thing, but I was just worried you wouldn't believe me like earlier." Yuan Wan tried to explain herself, and for some reason, Si Han couldn't seem to focus and just looked at her in a daze. Yuanwan got goosebumps from being stared at like this. Why are you looking at me like that?" Si Han seemed to have realized the reason, but he felt like it was impossible. He furrowed his brows as he calmed down. "It's nothing." Under his breath, he muttered subconsciously, "You couldn't have, huh?" Yuanwan was confused and hadn't heard what Si Han said. "I couldn't? I couldn't have done what?" Don't talk about these things. We haven't seen each other for so long. Don't you miss me?" Yuanwan gazed at a certain someone, trying to captivate him with her looks. Right as she was about to get intimate with "absence makes the heart grow fonder" as her excuse, footsteps rang out from behind them. "Mommy." Yuanwan instantly straightened up. "Cough, Tang Tang. You finished washing up? Mommy will come sleep with you in a bit." Nyatang Xiao, in Si Han, who had shortened his trip with much difficulty and had to spend the night in his room alone. "Yuanwan, Tang Tang is still young. Sleeping alone can be really scary." Si Han. No matter what happened in the past, she always rushed to sleep with him periodically. Yuanwan glanced at the adult then the child. Her head was spinning and finally, she came up with a solution. "How about we all sleep together? I'm really too smart." Si Han. Nyatang Xiao. The adult and the child glanced at each other and agreed silently. In the end, the three slept together on the same bed. To create the image of being a family of three, Yuanwan placed the little fella between her and Si Han. "Yuanwan, Tang Tang, do you want mommy to tell you a bedtime story?" Nyatang Xiao. "Yes." Yuanwan. "What does Tang Tang want to hear?" Nyatang Xiao. "The story mommy told yesterday night." Si Han. Wanwan had also put him to sleep that way before. Yi Wanwan nodded. "Ho ho ho, the story from yesterday night? So Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf? All right." Yi Wanwan lightly coughed then began her story. "Long ago, there was an adorable, young maiden. Anyone who saw her loved her, and the one who loved her the most was her maternal grandmother. One time, her grandmother gave the young maiden a velvet, little red hood. From then on, the young maiden refused to wear any other hood, and thus, everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood didn't know the wolf was a bad guy, and because of this, she told the wolf that she was going to the forest to visit her grandmother. The wolf began to scheme in his heart. This little thing is young and tender. She must taste better than that old hag. I need to come up with a plan so they're both unable to escape from my grasp. When Si Han heard that, he looked at Yi Wan Wan. Yi Wan Wan hadn't noticed Si Han's gaze and continued, "Grandma, why's your mouth so big and scary?" Little Red Riding Hood asked. "The better to eat you with." Once the wolf replied, he jumped from the bed and swallowed Little Red Riding Hood into his stomach. Si Han. Yi Wan Wan told the story twice, and finally, the little fella fell asleep. After letting out a sigh of relief, she finally noticed Si Han's mixed gaze. What is it?" Si Han. "It's not the same." Yi Wan Wan. "What's not the same?" Si Han. "The version you told me is not the same." Chapter 968. 968 Not the same? Of course they're not the same. The one I told Si Han before was something I blurted out to flirt with him. Yi Wan Wan suddenly coughed. Cough, cough, cough. The one I told Tang Tang was the normal version. The one I told you was an amazing version, because it was my own special creation. It's one of a kind. Si Han. Little Red Riding Hood eating the big bad wolf was pretty special. The little fella was like a furry animal when he moved a bit and snuggled right into Yi Wan Wan's arms. His little hand tightly clung onto her sleeve as he slept peacefully. Yi Wan Wan was stunned by his cuteness. So adorable. Si Han. Look, isn't he so cute and adorable? In order to make Si Han accept Tang Tang, Yi Wan Wan directly entered frenetic advertising mode and carefully handed the little fella over to Si Han. After the little fella was shifted into a different position, he frowned but quickly went back to sleep. Si Han relaxed as he looked at the little fella in his arms. It was hard to verbally explain the feelings that erupted from suddenly having this little boy beside him. So cute, so adorable. Such an obedient and understanding child. When I saw this child before, I even thought that such a lovable little boy could only exist if we combined our genes. Say, how could his parents bear to abandon him? Yi Wan Wan sighed. When Yi Wan Wan said such a lovable little boy could only exist if we combined our genes, Si Han observed the little fella beside him but made no indication of whether he agreed or not. Si Han. Who came to you for help? Yi Wan Wan's social network wasn't big, and the few people she knew were incapable of this. Yi Wan Wan's heart went sour. An idiot. But I must be even more stupid because I actually agreed to help him. Didn't I mention to you before how I found several temporary actors who could fight fairly well to act as soldiers saved by the Black Widow? I owed them a favor, so I reluctantly agreed to help. Si Han's expression turned ugly. This girl used to be afraid of everything. Merely seeing blood was enough to send her into shock, but now her guts were growing bigger than ever. It all started to change during the incident when they were in Country B. Back then, her methods of handling and dealing with matters changed. Day after day, she was changing, and now, she even adopted a child. Fortunately, he encountered even more astonishing events before, and this was a seemingly small matter in comparison. Yi Wan Wan continued to speak. Consider you being his daddy as a bonus that I'm giving him. When his real parents come back, I'll consider my work done and leave. But right now, let's view this as practice. Practice. Si Han's expression darkened slightly. Late at night, Yi Wan Wan and the little fella were both sleeping. The two of them were letting out peaceful breaths on this quiet night. Si Han silently observed them as they blissfully slept. There was going to be a day when they had their own child. At that moment, his cell phone vibrated. Si Han got up lightly and took his phone to the balcony. Hello, Master. Si Mingli and his people escaped overseas. We had some people following them, but once they reached Europe, we suddenly lost sight of them. Seemingly must have some other power backing him up. Chapter 969, CE, Han's expression didn't change. It was as though he already expected this. If Si Mingli was working alone, he wouldn't have the balls, nor would he have the capability to gather forces overseas. The person on the phone continued reporting. The person who saved Wanwan didn't come up as anything suspicious in our investigation. He should be the backup to Miss Wanwan's mercenaries. Master, what should we do about Si Mingli? The person on the phone awaited orders. Si Han went silent, then finally said, "Help me investigate a person." After hanging up, Si Han quietly stood beneath the night sky, his expression continuously changing. Before he returned to China, the Si family's internal department was a mess with endless disputes and infighting between branches. But even with the Si family's complicated branches, there was still the old madam and second elder Si Ming Rong to keep everything stabilized. They weren't at the point where the Si family was about to fall into ruin. In the shadows, there was definitely someone scheming, and this person was very familiar with the Si family. That was why, even though they never made an appearance themselves, they could use borrowed power to strike and cause the Si family's internal department to fight amongst themselves. Then they could reap the rewards without doing anything. This person's aim definitely wasn't to help Si Mingli achieve power, but rather to get benefits in the process, then eventually win over the entire Si family. If Si Han hadn't come back in time to take charge, the Si family would have likely become non-existent. After he returned to the Si family, the entire Si family became an impregnable fortress that no one could even touch, so they ended up using Si family's future mistress as an excuse to stir up controversy. This person must have a large connection to the Si family, and it was even possible that they could be hiding in the Si family's internal department. The next morning, when Yuan Wan opened her eyes, she could see Tang Tang beside her and Si Han, who was on the far side of the bed. This adult and child duo. It's practically a feast for the eyes. If she really had such a handsome husband and son, she would definitely wake up from laughing about her own dream. Yuan Wan was continuing to admire the beautiful scene when her phone began to ring. Nameless Nya. Famous Yi. Is Tang Tang doing all right over there? Begging for a picture. Yuan Wan. What did you say? The wind is too loud. I didn't hear anything. Nameless Nya. He clearly sent a text message. Right? Nameless Nya automatically sent a red pocket over. Yuan Wan happily opened the red pocket and realized her mood today wasn't bad. So she took her phone and casually took a photo of Tang Tang for Nameless Nya. In the picture, the early morning sunlight was shining through the window onto Tang Tang, who was sleeping blissfully in his furry cartoon pajamas. His little head was leaning into Si Han's arms and to the side. Yuan Wan was taking a selfie with one hand while poking the little fella's dimple with the other. The photo was quickly sent over, and Nameless Nya giggled as he saved it. He really admired Yuan Wan, who dared to poke the little devil's face. But after looking at the photo in more detail, Nameless Nya thought something was strange. The person sleeping beside Tang Tang doesn't appear to be Yuan Wan. Nameless Nya. Damn. Who's the man beside Tang Tang? Although Yuan Wan hadn't captured Si Han's face, Nameless Nya could naturally see that someone was sleeping beside Tang Tang, and from the body shape, he could tell it was a man. Yuan Wan, bullshit. Who could it be besides Tong Tong's daddy? Nameless Nya. Huh? Tong Tong's daddy? Nameless Nya stared at his phone for a while before he finally replied back. Nameless Nya. Where did you find him? How much per day? Yuan Wan. How much your head? This is my man. He's not an actor. Chapter 970. 970. Nameless Nya. Tang Tang believed you? Yuan Wan. Of course. You think he's as stupid as you? Nameless Nya. Famous Yi, you're really too reliable. You're so much more reliable than my sister who ran away from home and that brother-in-law who doesn't even know he has a son. Yi Wanwan was speechless. Let's not talk about anyone else, okay? Your whole family isn't reliable. After finishing up on Wei Xin, Yi Wanwan decidedly changed Nameless Nye's nickname to Nye Hollow Pit. Meanwhile, inside an underground bar in a town in northern Europe, Nameless Nye was looking at Tong Tong's photo. After seeing that the little fella had adjusted well, he could finally let out a breath of relief. It was mainly because he received another life-saving pass. Nameless Nye immediately emailed the photo over to his father. After he sent the photo, his phone began to ring. His family personally added him on WeChat. Nameless Nye was so scared that his hand trembled. He quickly clicked accept. After his WeChat account was blocked, he hadn't been re-added, but now, the Empress Dowager herself added him back. Nameless Nye, Mom, did you see? Tang Tang is doing well over there. He's eating well and sleeping well. I told you the person I found was really reliable. That couple is really nice. Nameless Nye worked hard to type that out. After what seemed to be forever, there was finally a reply. Do you have a picture of that girl? When Nameless Nye saw his mother's reply, he was dumbfounded. She wants Yi Wanwan's picture? Nameless Nye thought about it and decided to ask. Mom, what do you need Miss Ye's photo for? Afterwards, Nameless Nye's phone rang, and it was his family's Empress Dowager calling. He couldn't help but feel overwhelmed as he answered. Nameless Nye carefully answered the call. Hello, Mom. What is it? Don't you feel like she really resembles our Worryless? The person on the phone spoke in a haggard tone. Nameless Nye felt speechless but replied, There's a small resemblance. When I saw her for the first time, I couldn't help looking at her a few more times, but if I'm honest, aside from being prettier than our Worryless, she's not like her at all. Furthermore, Mom, I investigated this already. She's the second miss of the Yi family in Imperial City. She has parents and an older brother. She even has a decent boyfriend, so she can't be Worryless. Naturally, he also hoped to find Worryless, but he couldn't possibly just find a random person on the street who looked like his sister then pretend she was his sister. The phone went silent, then Madame Nye started to speak. Help me thank her for taking care of Tang Tang. Nameless Nye. I will. Mom, don't worry. Little sis has always run around everywhere since she was young. She never gets the short end of the stick, so she might just be having fun somewhere, and when she's had enough, she'll come back. Madame Nye let out a sigh to cover her uneasiness. Let's hope that's the case. China, Little Rose Garden. The little fella slowly opened his eyes to find himself trapped inside a stiff embrace. It wasn't the same as his mommy's and was more spacious. Perhaps it was because Si Han sensed the movement in his arms that he soon woke up. You're both awake. Yi Wanwan, who woke up earlier, happily said, Baby, good morning. After Yi Wanwan finished saying good morning, she suddenly sensed that the originally quiet atmosphere had begun to tense up. The little boy and Si Han, who had both just woken up, were both calmly staring at her. Chapter 971. 971. Yi Wanwan, who had finished saying good morning, suddenly felt dumbstruck, because the adult and child pair were both staring intently at her. It was evident Tang Tang was definitely a baby, but her nickname for Si Han was also baby. Yi Wanwan first looked at the little milk bun who had woken up. Oh, baby is so cute. I really can't resist. Yi Wanwan then glanced at Si Han. Goddamn. A beauty who just woke up is simply too deadly. The main point here was that the pair both seemed to care about who just referred to. It's just a name. Do they have to be like this? Why are they so similar even when it comes to a matter like this? After a battle ended inside her mind, Yi Wanwan decided to look at the cute little milk bun and gently tousled the little fella's hair. She said, Baby, good morning. Did you sleep well last night? The little fella instantly brightened up like a sunflower. His eyes filled with happiness. The little fella nuzzled his head against Yuan hand, then nodded. Yes. Tang Tang slept really well. Mommy, good morning. Han, who watched Yuan choose the little milk bun without hesitation, was speechless. Right now, his greatest happiness was that this child wasn't theirs. Yesterday, his thoughts about creating a family of 3 were currently being reassessed. Baby, do you need mommy to help you dress? Yuan warmly asked. The little fella seemed to want to reject her offer and say he could dress himself, but after thinking about it, he nodded. Yuan, oh right, today you can wear the new clothes mommy bought for you. The little fella obediently agreed. Okay. Yuan had bought countless new clothes for Tang Tang. There were even several parent-child matching sets, so she excitedly took one of them out. The smaller version was jeans paired with a white t-shirt. On the t-shirt was a cute pink cartoon pig. Quickly come over. Mommy will help you put it on. The little fella looked at the matching female version. Is mommy also going to wear it with me? Yuan laughed. Of course mommy will also wear it. The little fella revealed a small smile, and cute dimples also appeared on his flushed cheeks. Waking up early in the morning, and the mother-son duo painted a warm and lovely picture. As for the completely forgotten Han, he had pretty much witnessed what would happen in the future if they were to have children. Okay, first, go wash up, then we'll have breakfast downstairs. Yuan helped the little fella put on his clothes. The little fella felt uneasy the day before, but now he had completely recovered. His expression was filled with joy as he went to wash up before heading downstairs. After Tang Tang left, Yuan lightly coughed and looked at Han. Cough. Ajio. She didn't need to guess to know what Han's expression looked like right now. As the king of jealousy in East Asia, Han could even be jealous of a tiger, much less a live person. But because the target was his own son, so he resisted. Han, who had been banished into the cold palace, was now sitting on the bed, calmly observing her. Is something the matter? Yuan didn't know whether to cry or laugh when she saw the great devil's thunder expression. Yuan sighed, then went over to him and leaned in to tenderly kiss him on the lips. She then softly whispered, Hubby, good morning. In ancient China, whenever the concubines, or even the empress, committed sins which didn't warrant the death penalty, they were typically sent into the cold palace where they were to live a life of solitude and repentance. In a modern context, this term usually refers to a person being ignored or forgotten. Chapter 972. Her warm voice that whispered, Hubby, beside his ear made Han freeze. In the next second, a broad hand pressed against the back of the girl's head and he deepened their kiss. The little fox Yuan let out a light laugh. Now that we already have a baby, my pet name for you will also have to evolve. Are you happy with this new nickname? Han's reply was biting her lip, using his actions to answer her question. Yuan suddenly thought of something and excitedly got up. Ah, that's right. The parent-child sets came in 3s. There's Tong's, mine, and also yours. We can look like a family of 3 by wearing the set together. A family of 3. Han. Yuan was pretty professional. She clearly hated anything that was troublesome, and she also didn't like interacting with children. He never would have imagined that she could actually handle a child this well. It was likely only a temporary new interest. The majority of the reason for her interest in the child was probably his good looks. Yuan first turned around to change, then handed Han's clothes to him. Yuan was wearing overalls made with the same material as the jeans Tang Tang was wearing. Inside the overalls, she was wearing the same t-shirt with the pink cartoon pig. She looked like a high schooler. Ajio, quickly put it on too. A family needs to be complete and together. Yuan excitedly pressured him. Han looked at the t-shirt in his hands with the pink cartoon pig. Evidently, a certain someone had never worn something so childish in his entire life. Yuan. Hubby? Hubby. Han. In. After some time. Yi Wanwan and Si Han headed downstairs after they finished changing. When the group of 5 who were in hiding saw the matching family of 3, they were speechless. Black Widow, who was known to have countless male pets, and Si Han, who was the rumored demon family head who was disinterested in women, were actually wearing a childish parent-child matching set of clothing with their son. This scene, if they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, was something they never could have imagined. Naturally, there was someone who was even more shocked than the group of 5. Sui, who had been worrying all night that something would happen to his master, hadn't left the little rose garden and had been awake and on call all night. He finally managed to wait it out until daylight, and as a result, he witnessed this miraculous picture. What was this situation? Yi Wanwan noticed Sui, who was in the living room, and said with surprise, "Huh, housekeeper Su, you're still here." "Sui, I was always here, okay? Such a frightening situation happened last night. How could I have just left?" Yi Wanwan saw Sui's expression and realized that things yesterday happened in a rush. She hadn't explained things to him clearly, so she went over and whispered everything to him. "Sui, what? I worried all night, but the truth is that they're just taking care of someone else's child, pretending to be real parents?" Even if he had a wild imagination, he never would have thought of this possibility. He could only admit defeat. Running to claim a child. How could his master so easily accept this? Sui dumbfoundedly looked at his master. He saw an adult and child duo wearing matching clothes, facing each other at the dinner table. Si Han was casually eating his breakfast as he gave the little fella a poached egg. They seemed so accustomed to everything. So from beginning to end, the only one who was a mess was himself. Chapter 973, 973. After Yi Wanwan explained everything to Sui, she happily went over to eat breakfast. Yi Wanwan watched as Si Han got some food for Tang Tang. Although Tang Tang didn't treat Si Han like they were close, he also didn't reject Si Han and even gratefully said, "Thank you." Everything was even better than Yi Wanwan imagined, so she felt very relieved. Today, Si Han didn't have to go to work while Yi Wanwan was on break. According to the rules Yi Wanwan set before, as long as both parties had time, they had to go on a date at least once a week. But today, it seemed as though there would be another person tagging along. Yi Wanwan blinked at Si Han. Si Han, who perceived her stare, said nothing. "Please, hubby." Yi Wanwan clearly mouthed the new pet name. Si Han expressed his helplessness towards wanting to spoil her as he looked at the little fella and asked, "Where do you want to go play?" The little fella didn't say anything and seemed to relax a bit when he looked up. "Play?" Yi Wanwan immediately replied, "That's right. Today, Daddy and Mommy are free and can take you out to play. Baby, where do you want to go? The zoo? The amusement park? Or do you want to go hiking? Anywhere you want to go is a possibility." Regarding this question, if he were any other child, he would have already happily replied back with what he wanted to do. However, Tang Tang seemed to have never thought about this, much less know how to interact with his parents, so he appeared vacant. When Yi Wanwan saw this, she felt her heart ache and she quickly continued, "How about you let Mommy decide? Let's go to the amusement park, okay?" The little fella instantly nodded. "Okay." Yi Wanwan smiled. "Then it's decided. After breakfast, we'll set out." After breakfast, the family of 3 drove towards the biggest amusement park in Imperial City. Today, the trio's matching cartoon outfits were very appropriate for being at this type of setting. Yi Wanwan was holding hands with the little fella. "Tang Tang, there's a lot of people here, so hold on to Daddy's and Mommy's hands." The little fella peered at the tall man beside him. Si Han gazed back and held out his hand. The little fella hesitated, but in the end, he reached out as well and held hands with Si Han. They had only arrived at the entrance when Yi Wanwan saw the beautiful cotton candy. Whoa. Hjiu whoa. Ajiu. Ever since Si Han started going on dates with Yi Wanwan, he had eventually improved in his understanding of social interactions. Before, he didn't know anything about it. He had Sui arrange some cash earlier, and Yuanwan didn't need to ask before he knowingly took out his wallet to pay. How many do you want? Yuanwan. It's so large, so one is enough. A very colorful heart-shaped piece of cotton candy was quickly prepared for them. Come, Tang Tang, try it. Yuanwan placed the cotton candy in front of Tang Tang. Tang Tang stared at the colorful unknown object with mixed feelings and tilted his head in curiosity. This is edible? Si Han expressionlessly explained to his son. Yes, it's cotton candy. Yuanwan observed this father-son duo and couldn't help but laugh. Didn't Si Han not know what cotton candy was in the beginning? Yet now he's even teaching his son. Yuanwan looked at Tang Tang. That's right. It's cotton candy and it's delicious. Try it. The little fella carefully took a bite and immediately brightened up as it melted in his mouth. It was sweet. Chapter 974. 974. The adult and child pair both didn't know how to have fun. Luckily, Wanwan was there. Wow, we're actually so lucky. There's a parade today. There's also a fireworks show. Whoa, that headband is so cute. I have to buy it. Whoa, that lollipop looks delicious. I have to buy it. I also want that balloon. Yuanwan was even more excited than a child, skipping as she dragged the adult and child pair everywhere with her. She nearly bought one of everything that was available for sale. Si Han diligently hovered behind, guarding the mother-son pair from the crowd unless he had to go to the front to pay for Yuanwan's purchases. After a short while, Tong Tong's hands were stuffed with Yuanwan's items. In his left hand was a gigantic rainbow lollipop, and in his right was a balloon. On his head, he wore cat ears, and around his neck, he wore a beautiful flower wreath. Yuanwan and Si Han also had the same flower wreaths around their necks, but Yuanwan was wearing bunny ears while Si Han was wearing wolf ears and a black mask Yuanwan made him wear. They passed by a photo booth, and Yuanwan dragged the father-son pair to take photos. They were such priceless treasures. Yuanwan laughed as she went through them several times before handing them over to Tang Tang. Here, Tang Tang, you take care of them. The little fella carefully accepted them, treating the photos like precious baubles as he looked at them with his big eyes. Night quickly arrived and the flower parade begun. There were more and more people present, and it was becoming more crowded. Excited voices were building up in the surrounding area. Tang Tang was so small, so his field of vision was quickly blocked by many people. Si Han glanced at the mother-son pair and handed his snacks to Yuanwan. Hold these. Huh. Oh, Yuanwan took the snacks. Afterwards, Yuanwan saw Si Han bending down. With one arm, he picked up Tang Tang, and with his other arm, he pulled Yuanwan into his embrace, separating them from the crowd. Yuanwan blinked. She felt her heart beating like crazy. Si Han actually appeared so much more handsome than usual when he picked up Tang Tang. Originally, it was hard for her to imagine what having a child with Si Han would be like. But now, she felt that if Si Han really became a father, he would be pretty gentle. The sun was setting slowly, and their trip to the amusement park was coming to an end. The crowd dispersed as people left. Yuanwan ran off to buy a souvenir as Si Han waited in place while holding Tang Tang. When it was time to go, Yuanwan watched the father-son pair and couldn't help taking out her phone to capture the moment. It was nighttime now, and Si Han booked a reservation at a restaurant known for their private home cuisine. So the family of three left the amusement park and directly headed to the restaurant. The family of three was still wearing the same outfits from the amusement park. They had the matching outfits on and were carrying animal headbands, candy, and souvenir gifts. This private home cuisine restaurant was very famous in Imperial City. Each day, they only served 10 tables, and if the average person wanted to eat a meal there, they had to book a reservation months in advance. Yuanwan, Tang Tang, and Si Han were heading towards the restaurant when they ran into several familiar faces. Lin Ke was chatting with Xie when he noticed the three of them. He felt as though someone had pressed his acupuncture points and stood there, dumbfounded as he stared at Si Han. What did I just see? Xiaozhi observed Si Han with interest as he looked at the printed pink pig on his clothes. Then he glanced at the little milk bun holding Yi Wanwan's hand. He lightly laughed and then said, we just witnessed a miracle. Chapter 975. 975 Lin K felt as though he had been hit by lightning. Then he incredulously asked, did I transmigrate to the future? Or did I fall into a parallel dimension? Why does ninth brother have a son? This can't be right. That's not my ninth brother. How could my ninth brother be dressed like this, with that thing on his clothes? Yi Wanwan abruptly raised her hand to reply, that's a little pig. It's a little pig. Damn it, that's not the point. Okay? Lin Ke felt even more confused. Yi Wanwan laughed as she waved to greet the two of them. I haven't seen you two in a while. Xie Zhizhi meaningfully swept his eyes over the three of them. It really has been a while. Considering you two even have a child now. Yi Wanwan's brows twitched as she processed his words. She really hadn't seen Lin Ke for a long time. As for Xie Zhizhi, she very recently saw him when Si Mingli locked her up in the dark chamber. The Si Han in her previous life had always been a lone wolf without any friends, and he didn't trust anyone, not even Sui. The only exceptions were Lin Ke and Xie Zhizhi, who visited Jean Garden in the past, but they only showed up a few times. She assumed they were only acquaintances from work, rather plastic friendships. Especially Xie Zhizhi, who was an artist from the entertainment industry and viewed himself as a gift from heaven for all girls on earth. No matter how she looked at him, he was too incompatible with Si Han for any kind of lasting friendship. Lin Ke was too lacking and would die without gossip, but he was versatile when it came to making connections everywhere. If Si Han and Lin Ke were close, at least that would make more sense. However, the one who came to her rescue was actually the unlikely Xie Zhizhi. Lin Ke was speechless. Please, no matter how long it's been since we've seen each other, you still couldn't have given birth to such a big child. Yi Wanwan, what are you playing at? Where did you steal this child from? When Nye Tang Xiao heard Lin Ke's words, his small face instantly darkened. Yi Wanwan instantly glared at Lin Quebec. Lin clueless, you're the one who stole a child. I gave birth to this child, all right? Lin Ke widened his dog eyes, his face full of disbelief. You gave birth? Yi Wanwan harumphed. That's right. I gave birth myself. What about it? I had him with Agio. The corners of Lin Ke's lips twitched. You're kidding me, right? Yi Wanwan continued. Look at him. Besides Agio, who else could I have a child with who could produce a child this cute? You dare say he's not my child? Lin Ke carefully observed the little milk bun who was holding both their hands. You all really look like a family. The more Lin Ke said it aloud, the stranger he felt. Damn, this can't be right. Yi Wanwan, that brat, is how old? Isn't she 20 this year? Lin Ke suddenly felt speechless. You're still young. If you gave birth to him, then my ninth brother is a beast. Yi Wanwan murmured. Then there can only be one truth. Lin Ke, what? Yi Wanwan, your ninth brother really is very beastly. In order to continue her act, she had to make Si Han suffer a bit. Si Han, Lin Ke was speechless for a while. I call bullshit. If anyone hears a beast, it has to be you. Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes at him. Is there a difference? I still had a child with Agio. Chapter 976. Lin Ke's eyes glittered as he looked towards Si Han. Ninth brother, I want to share a table. It's such a coincidence that we ran into each other. So how about we eat together? Yi Wanwan. Likely, their fake excuse of wanting to share a table was a cover-up for wanting to pry into their lives. Lin Ke's eyes already betrayed him. Si Han expressionlessly glanced at him. Not interested. Lin Ke instantly looked hurt. Don't be so stingy. The more the merrier. Xie Zhizhi lightly laughed and said to Yi Wanwan, Boss Yi, I coincidentally have some business matters to discuss with you. Clearly, Xie and Lin Kei's intelligence weren't on the same level. Xie understood who held the power to make decisions in this family, so Yi Wanwan was directly addressed. Yi Wanwan went silent. Business matters? Although Xie and she both worked in the entertainment industry, that guy had a presence beyond a god. They weren't even comparable, so what business matters did he have to discuss with her? Yi Wanwan hesitated when Xie abruptly took out his phone. At that moment, Yi Wanwan's phone rang out. It was a message from Xie. She remembered that long ago. She added Xie on WeChat, but they never chatted. After opening it, she saw that Xie sent her a red pocket. What's the meaning of this? Xie said, it's the first time meeting your son, so consider it a simple greeting gift for him. Yi Wanwan's eyes brightened. Never did she imagine that having a son would bring such great benefits. She could receive red pockets. People should learn from Xie. He's so understanding. Yi Wanwan clicked the red pocket open and saw the number, which made her even more pleased. Yi Wanwan, who had just been so protective of Tang from those two men, suddenly changed her attitude. Tang, quickly thank this uncle. Tang obediently complied. Thank you, uncle. Xie smiled. You're welcome. Yi Wanwan. Since it's like this, megastar Xie, let's dine together. Lin Kei was dumbfounded. What about me? What about me? Yi Wanwan. And who are you to my family's baby? Fuck. Lin Kei immediately took out a stack of cash after digging out what he could. Haha, it's my bad. I shouldn't have said such nonsense. This is a red pocket for my obedient nephew. Yi Wanwan raised a brow at this stupid Lin Kei, who finally caught up to what was happening. That's the least you can do. Yi Wanwan looked at Sihan and said, Ajio, let's all dine together. The more the merrier. Sihan. And Lin Kei. Fuck. Why was I ignored when I said the same thing? In the end, Xie and Lin Kei successfully joined in on their family dinner. Yi Wanwan, Tang, and Sihan sat together on one side as a family of three while Xie and Lin Kei sat opposite them. Sihan, what do you want to eat? Yi Wanwan, you decide. You already know what I like to eat. Thus, Sihan quickly ordered a few dishes, then asked Tang, who was seated beside him, how about you? Nye Tangxiao looked at the two sitting on the opposite side before looking back at Sihan and replied, Daddy, Tang can eat anything? Sihan relaxed a bit when he was referred to as Daddy. Ever since last night, even after playing together an entire day, Nye Tangxiao had never once called him Daddy. This was the first time. PFFFF. When Lin Kei heard the word Daddy, he spat his lemon water out. The scene before him was simply too impossible. Chapter 977. 977. When Yi Wanwan heard the word Daddy, her little heart melted a bit. Oh my. Tang finally called Sihan Daddy. Why do I feel so proud? As Lin Kei watched the warm and sweet atmosphere around the family of three, he began to wonder what exactly he was there for. I thought I was here for some excitement, so I could find out where this child came from. Lin Kei mainly wanted to figure this out, so he tagged along. But now, he felt like he couldn't ask. He was practically on the edge of his seat. And there was an even more pressing matter. Ninth brother, how could you wear such clothing? My image of you has nearly collapsed inside my heart. Yi Wanwan wordlessly watched as Lin Kei's expression changed endlessly like a stoplight. Ninth brother, is that really your son? Lin Kei's gaze kept switching between the adult and child pair. Sihan coolly raised his head to glance at him. Is there a problem? Lin Kei, is there no problem? Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes at him. Ajio and I have a son. Do you really need to act so dramatically? Lin Kei was stunned by these two. Is there really no need? Learn from Xie. Look how calm he is. Oh, that's right, megastar Xie. You mentioned there was something you needed to discuss with me? Yi Wanwan couldn't be bothered with Lin Kei, and instead turned to Xie. Xie put down the cup in his hand and replied, My contract with SG is going to expire soon. The contract Xie Zhizhi signed was with a company overseas. SG was one of the top 3 companies in country M. Oh, Yi Wanwan nodded. Is this related to me in any way? So when your contract expires, are you preparing to open your own company? Or did you want to move to a different one? Yi Wanwan casually asked. With Xie Zhizhi's abilities, he could have become independent early on, but it didn't seem as though he intended to do that. I'm not interested in opening my own company. I plan to sign with a managerial company within China. After he said that, Xie Zhizhi smiled at Yi Wanwan. So how about it, boss Yi? Won't you consider signing me? PFFFF. This time, it was Yi Wanwan's turn to spit out tea. Nanny? Are you kidding? A megastar that an international top 3 managerial company wanted to sign is asking me if I would consider signing him? I never even imagined this possibility. All right? Yi Wanwan coughed nonstop. Tang Tang immediately became worried and handed her a tissue. Si Han patted the girl on the back, then glanced at Xie Zhizhi. When Xie Zhizhi met Si Han's gaze, he looked back coquettishly. Yi Wanwan finally recovered. You must be kidding, right? My establishment is still too small for a great god like you. If megastar Xie had to sign with a company within their country, he could sign with Emperor Sky Entertainment, which was directly under Yi Group, Worldwide Entertainment, or even Art Style Media. Emperor Sky Entertainment was the entertainment industry's oldest managerial company in the country. Worldwide Entertainment was the second oldest, as well as the top company in the country, while it ranked in the top 3 internationally. But if he was ambitious, although Art Style Media was less famous, it was a company that worked hard to produce talented artists. As for her company, it had barely taken its first steps, so how could she sign him? Xie Zhizhi lightly laughed. I'm being serious. Boss, you should think this over some more. Yi Wanwan, consider my ass. He's clearly playing me. This guy can't be wanting revenge because of last time, right? Chapter 978. Last time, Si Han suddenly spat out blood. Si Mingli gave her trouble. At that moment, Xie Zhizhi brought with him the jade bracelet, and ring Si Han showed her before to convince her to go with him. But even if it was the shocking Xie Zhizhi who came for her, she naturally couldn't leave with him. However, Yi Wanwan also knew that despite her stubbornness, Xie Zhizhi still needed to carry out Si Han's orders and would forcibly take her with him. And so, under those circumstances, she had to use an underhanded method. She then told Xie Zhizhi that if he forcibly took her away, if Si Han didn't die, she would tell Si Han that Xie Zhizhi had a crush on her and was actually waiting for that day when he could elope with her. Xie Zhizhi's reaction was as expected. Even though her plan was a bit far-fetched, it was effective enough to render him helpless. In the end, the results proved that it was a good plan since she scared Xie Zhizhi off. Yi Wanwan completely ignored Xie Zhizhi and acted like he was joking and continued to eat dinner with Tang Tang. Xie Zhizhi reached over for the drinks placed on the other side, but clumsily tilted the bottle and spilled wine all over Si Han. Xie Zhizhi said innocently, "Ah, my bad." Si Han met his gaze and gave a warning with his eyes as he looked over Xie Zhizhi before standing up. I'm going to the washroom. Xie Zhizhi also got up to follow him. I'll accompany you. Yi Wanwan bit on her chopsticks as she watched the two of them heading towards the bathroom. Why did it feel that Xie Zhizhi was doing this on purpose? At the end of the hallway where the washroom was, by the window, Si Han faced the devilish-looking man opposite him with impatience. Is something the matter? Xie Zhizhi sighed silently from the clear rejection. So cold. Hey, you don't seriously think I have a crush on the girl, do you? Si Han's gaze became colder by several degrees. Xie Zhizhi, even if there's a crush, it would only make sense if she's the one who has a crush on me, right? Once he finished talking, a certain someone's expression became even uglier. Xie Zhizhi raised his hands in surrender. Fine, fine. I admit I didn't handle things properly last time, but I only claimed 30% responsibility while your family's wife should claim the other 70. If you really died, it would have been fine, but if you didn't die, would I still be able to live with the way she was slandering me? I had to confirm that you were really dead before I dared to take her away. Xie spoke in a matter-of-fact tone. So, where did that child come from? He can't really be your kid, right? Xie decided to change topics. Si Han expressionlessly replied, "We're helping someone take care of him for a few days." Xie lightly smiled. Seems like something she would do. Si Han heard this and his expression suddenly changed. Xie felt helpless. You can hide it from that clueless Lin Ke, but you don't really think I'm on the same level as that guy, right? To be honest, I was almost fooled in the beginning until I went to the Si family home to pick her up. This style of handling things, doing whatever the heart wants without any reservation, is clearly Xie next words died under Si Han's cold and dark gaze. Xie continued meaningfully, "Of course, the one who confirmed my suspicions wasn't her, but rather you." He understood Si Han too well, so he suspected Yi Wanwan from the beginning. Chapter 979. After Xie stopped talking, Si Han's expression didn't change one bit, and he replied, "She's already dead." Seeing that he wasn't going to admit anything, Xie could only shrug and leave things unsaid. Hey, what are you two talking about in secret? Xie, I knew from the beginning that you were trying to steal ninth brother away on purpose. Lin Ke stormed over. What kind of secret are you two keeping, and why are you trying to hide it from me? And what's going on with that child? Xie glanced at Lin Quebec. Little Yi is helping someone take care of the child for a couple days. Your ninth brother is only a temporary father. Lin Ke looked as though the world was turning upside down. Damn, isn't that too much? And ninth brother is just letting her do what she wants? Xie lightly smiled. Is ninth brother the one dating her or you? I didn't say it before, but isn't ninth brother's gap in aesthetics too big? Lin Ke murmured, then he suddenly remembered something. He paused before continuing. Last month, Demon's martial arts ranking at the Scarlet Flames Academy was taken. Si Han's gaze remained calm even when he heard Lin Ke's words. Xie replied, "There will always be new talent in every generation, especially in that kind of environment. For any record, there will always be a day when someone breaks it." Lin Ke expressed a bit of anger but couldn't refute Xie. He quietly said, "There hasn't been any news from the old association head. Lately, the situation with the Dusk of Immortals has gotten pretty bad." At that moment, a set of footsteps came from the other end of the hallway. Yi Wanwan silently observed the three people huddled together. Why is it that you men like to go to the washroom in a group? She didn't even need to think to know that these two were definitely asking about Tang Tang. However, a streak of suspicion crossed her eyes. What did I just hear? Dusk of Immortals? What were you talking about? What immortals? Si Han's eyes turned frosty and he headed over towards her. We were talking about your company. Lin Ke shrunk from Si Han's cold gaze. Huh, what about my company? Yi Wanwan didn't understand. Xie didn't speak too quickly or slowly when he replied. In the near future, someone will likely give you trouble. It's best if you get more people on the production side. Yi Wanwan appeared suspicious of Xie's advice but replied, "Got it. Thanks for the tip." She was rising quickly in the entertainment industry, so she must have a few jealous competitors. From that reason alone, she already expected this. She just never imagined that Xie would suddenly give her a tip. It was likely because of Si Han. Right, bossy. Remember to consider what I said? Xie lightly smiled. Yi Wanwan. This matter wasn't even something she needed to consider. Every company wanted Xie, and she did too, but the problem was that her small company couldn't possibly house such a huge star like him. Si Han relaxed when he saw that Yi Wanwan changed her focus, but he still appeared tense. Little Rose Garden. After eating dinner, they returned home. Yi Wanwan tucked Tang Tang into bed then went to talk to Si Han. Yi Wanwan. When will Mr. Mu be in the country? Si Han. The day after tomorrow. Yi Wanwan nodded. Ah, do I need to prepare anything? Si Han. No need. Asking him was equivalent to not asking at all. He was prepared no matter what came at him. Yi Wanwan frowned as she looked at Si Han. What's wrong? I feel like something's off with you tonight. Are you upset? Yi Wanwan was probably the only one who could read anything from Si Han's expressionless face and could even tell when he appeared upset. Chapter 980. 980 Si Han was speechless and he didn't reply. Instead, he turned towards her and gently left a kiss on her forehead. Yi Wanwan touched her forehead and unhappily murmured, "You're just trying to appease me." A trace of helplessness flickered in Si Han's gaze as he kissed her on the lips. When he held her, he could feel the warmth of her body. Si Han whispered next to her ear, "I'm really okay." Late at night, at a certain villa in Imperial City, Qin Feng solemnly looked at the girl in front of him. "Mr. Mu arrives the day after tomorrow. Ruashi, how are your preparations coming along?" Qin Ruashi appeared determined and confident. "Father, don't worry. Everything is ready." Qin Feng stared at his daughter, who was dressed in an all-black martial arts uniform, before he nodded with satisfaction. Mr. Mu is drunken in love with China's martial arts. Your fighting abilities are so good that Mr. Mu will definitely have a good first impression of you." Qin Feng continued, "Coincidentally, the global martial arts competition is being held in China and Mr. Mu will be attending. At that time, you can also bring several masters along with you." Qin Ruishi, "Yes, father. Any movement from that woman lately?" Qin Feng asked. "She's supposedly filming a movie right now," Qin Ruashi replied. Qin Feng harumphed coldly. This type of woman could never draw Mr. Mu's attention. "I must be getting old and even more muddled to allow the family head to mess around like this." The next morning, dazzling media. The employees were huddled in groups of 3 and 5 while gossiping. "Vice President Yi is so amazing. The company hasn't been open for that long, yet he's already so famous in the entertainment industry. Even Emperor Entertainment is helpless. They wanted to sue him before, but in the end, the thief was the one calling thief. The most surprising thing is how Emperor made a loud mess of everything, but it only helped Vice President Yi by giving his movie free advertising. If only Vice President Yi was still at Dazzling Media. What a pity." At that point, outside the door, Kai Yongsheng was walking in with his assistant. The two naturally overheard the conversation. The assistant instantly scolded them loudly. "Don't you all need to work? What are you all doing here gossiping? Do you want a pay reduction?" Kai Yongsheng glanced at them darkly. The employees, who had been gossiping endlessly, didn't dare to speak and the office was filled with a dead silence. Kai Yongsheng gloomily entered his office. "The people who were talking about Yi by just now are all fired," Kai Yongsheng said angrily. The assistant appeared conflicted. Director Kai, a lot of employees quit already and there aren't enough people working in the company. If you fire them, I'm afraid." When Kai Yongsheng kicked Yi out, he caused Dazzling Media's Luo Chen, Gong Su, and even Felix to leave with him. In the end, even the global star Han Xianyu followed suit. Because things had gotten too out of hand, the board had taken away Kai Yongsheng's position. However, not even a month had passed and Kai Yongsheng returned to Dazzling Media and became the general director, tasked with returning Dazzling Media to its former glorious self as atonement. Kai Yongsheng slammed the table hard. Damn, if it wasn't for Yi Bai, Dazzling wouldn't have become like this. It was originally a big slab of meat, but now it was nearly down to the bare bones. He had no choice but to swallow it down. What infuriated him even more was how after leaving Dazzling Media, Yi Bai was doing better than ever. Wasn't this equivalent to slapping him in the face? Chapter 981. 981. When the special assistant saw his actions, she rolled her eyes before she said beside Kai Yongsheng's ear, "Director Kai, competing with Yi Bai doesn't need to be so complicated. Everyone working in the entertainment industry today has a few connections at least. Yi Bai doesn't have any power, nor does he know anyone in the city. He should only have a few security guards working for him. You should consider asking old Three Zhang for a favor. Get them to cause some trouble for Yibai's production so they can't even work on their movie. Kai Yongsheng went silent while his eyes glowed. Not a bad idea. Why didn't I come up with this? Even if they tried to investigate, no one could link this back to him. But is old Three Zhang willing? Kai Yongsheng frowned. The special assistant reminded him, Director Kai, you've forgotten. Old Three Zhang has bones to pick with Gong Su. Now that Gong Su has ignored everyone and left global entertainment, if you coincidentally bring it to old Three Zhang's attention, he won't let this opportunity slip away judging by his personality. Kai Yongsheng's mood improved after hearing this. You're right. Go. Help me book a meeting with old Three Zhang. Yes, Director Kai. I'll go right away. That night, at a 6-star hotel in Imperial City, a man with full abs was wearing a black vest. He impatiently asked, What is it? Did you need me for something? A female artist was pouring wine for Kai Yongsheng as she replied respectfully, Zhangji, there's something I came to ask if you could help me with. I've encountered a thorn who doesn't understand the rules and I was hoping to trouble you to educate them a bit. Old Three Zhang laughed coldly. General Director Kai, are you treating me like your lackey? Kai Yongsheng quickly replied, Zhangji, what are you saying? The entire industry in Imperial City knows what type of man you are. Global entertainment depends entirely on you for support. Old Three Zhang was originally a coach for the provincial Chinese boxing team, but he quit so he could make money off the streets. He washed his dirty earnings clean by opening a security company. All the security guards working at Global Entertainment were hired from his company. When old Three Zhang heard this, his expression warmed up a bit. Kai Yongsheng continued on. Zhangji, remember that brat Gong Su, who tarnished your reputation in such a public place. Are you really going to let it go just like that? Aren't you letting him off easy? Old Three Zhang went silent and his eyes darkened. Before, he set his eyes on a female artist and wanted to forcibly take her. In the end, that brat Gong Su ruined his plans and humiliated him publicly. However, at that time, Gong Su was signed under Global Entertainment, so Chu Hongguang mediated between them. On top of that, Gong Su had his old man backing him up, so he had to silently take it. Kai Yongsheng gave his assistant a look when he noticed old Three Zhang's abnormal expression. The special assistant immediately brought over a suitcase filled with cash. Old Three Zhang slowly glanced over the case. Of course I'll do Chairman Chu this favor. Kai Yongsheng quickly clinked glasses with him. Thank you, Zhangji. But Zhangji, you need to be careful. That brat Yibai is very sly and cunning. Kai Yongsheng warned him. Old Three Zhang downed the white wine in his glass in one go. Relax. This time, I'll go myself. Kai Yongsheng was overjoyed. Zhangji, if you go personally, there definitely won't be any issues. Haha, I really have to thank that brat Gong Su, otherwise old Three Zhang wouldn't take this so personally. Himph. Yibai, let's see how wild you can still be. Chapter 982 That night, at a filming location for a life and death struggle, a group of people were nervously filming when a loud noise came from the locked entrance. Yimu Fan asked his fellow workers, What's going on? The employees glanced at one another before replying. It seems as though some fans have forcibly entered and the security guards are blocking them. Because of this, they've begun to scold us and are causing conflict. Yimu Fan headed towards the noise and saw some familiar faces. Yimu Fan's expression darkened. These people aren't fans. He recognized these people as underlings of old Three Zhang. These people were clearly there to cause trouble. Incidents like these happened a lot in the entertainment industry. Rivals always hired others to pick fights over nothing and simply make a mess of things. The cost they were paying to rent their film location was charged by the day. If they were delayed in filming by one day, not only would they pay extra fees, but they would also delay the completion date of their film and they might even miss the best date for screening. If that happened, the losses would be immeasurable. People usually didn't bother big companies, but small companies like theirs often faced this kind of scenario. Yimu Fan walked over. Zhangji, how are you so free today that you came to visit? How about we find a place and sit down to chat? If there was room for discussion and if money could solve the issue, that would naturally be the best. Old Three Zhang coldly laughed and directly replied, "There's nothing to discuss. F***K off." Yimu Fan's expression abruptly changed. After Old Three Zhang said that, he sat down in a nearby chair. "Go bring that brat Gong Su out here to see me." Yimu Fan expressed some suspicion, then he gave some orders to Gong Su's assistant, Dong Zai. "Go watch Gong Su and don't let him come out. If the main star became injured, the movie wouldn't be able to keep filming." Yimu Fan was about to talk to Old Three Zhang when his cell suddenly rang. Yi Wanwan was calling. "Hey, Wanwan." Yimu Fan walked off to the side. "Hey bro, today, Yi Wanwan was about to speak when a loud noise rang through the phone from Yimu Fan's side and she quickly asked, "What's going on over on your side? Why is it so noisy?" "It's nothing." Yimu Fan watched as those people prepared their machinery and urgently walked away a bit further. He tried to change the topic. "What did you want to talk to me about just now? Did someone come to make trouble?" Yi Wanwan calmly asked. She was just thinking about the matter yesterday and didn't imagine that someone would come today. "Bro, don't rush. Make sure all the artists leave, especially Gong Su. He's so impatient. So you have to stop him and prevent him from doing anything rash." "I'll quickly call some people over to help," Yi Wanwan said quickly. "People?" Chapter 983. 983. Heidi angrily rolled up her sleeves. Who dares to have the guts to cause trouble for Master? But currently, Master was hiding her identity, so it made sense. "Let me think about who to send," Yi Wanwan murmured as she swept her gaze over the group of 5. "Master, me. Let me go. I'll kill whoever you want. Just say the word." Yi Wanwan didn't reply, but the corners of her lips curved upwards. "You're only there to settle things. I'm not telling you to kill anyone." Judging by Yimu Fan's tone, the situation seemed fairly severe. Their opponents were former members of the provincial Chinese boxing team, so sending a more reliable and responsible person would be better. The best fighter amongst the group of 5 was Jiao Jiao, so why not send Jiao Jiao? Thus, Yi Wanwan ordered, "Jiao Jiao, head on over." Jiao Jiao immediately held up her skirt and happily curtsied before crisply replying, "As you command, Master." Yi Wanwan felt a bit regretful after making her decision. Say, isn't Jiao Jiao a bit too vicious? Whatever. Being vicious was also a good thing. At the filming location, smash it all. An endless racket of shouting noises enveloped the area. Luochen appeared anxious. "Was that Yi on the phone just now? What did Yi say?" Yimu Fan solemnly replied. "He said he would call some helpers over." Dong Zai asked, "Yi is going to get help? But they have so many people. Not to mention that Zhang Wei came personally. If Liang Xi and Dong came, he might consider letting us off." Yimu Fan didn't have any hope towards Yi Wanwan. She was only a girl, so how could she know anyone who could fight? "Let me go make a phone call." Yimu Fan took a deep breath. He had some connections with people in the industry, but after his father lost his position, he didn't contact them anymore. Despite everything, he wanted to try. Old Three Zhang's gang of people were going overboard, so Yimu Fan didn't dare to overthink it and immediately made the call. The phone rang for a while, but someone finally answered his call. "Hello, Liang Ji. Hey, who are you?" Yimu Fan tried to sound as respectful as possible. "Liang Ji, it's been a long time. Sorry to bother you. I'm Yimu Fan, and I wanted to ask you for help. I currently have a conflict with Zhang Wei, and I was wondering if you could be our mediator and help sort things out." The man over the phone seemed to suddenly recall who he was. "Oh, I was wondering who you were. It's actually my good nephew Yi." "Ah, it's not that I don't want to help you, but I'm preparing for the Global Martial Arts Conference right now, and I've been training people in seclusion. I don't have the heart to interfere in such a trivial matter. I'm really sorry." Once the person over the phone finished talking, he didn't even wait for Yimu Fan to reply and directly hung up like an aquatic animal slipping away into the water. The other party clearly didn't want to get involved with old Three Zhang over something so trivial and also knew that the present Yi Mu Fan was no longer the Yi family's precious young master. Based off his current status, Yi Mu Fan wasn't influential enough for Liang Xiandong to feel compelled to help out. Yi Mu Fan grinded his teeth but couldn't think of any more solutions. He could only depend on Yi Wanwan. Wanwan had changed a lot and wasn't as reckless as she used to be. She sounded so confident over the phone. So maybe she really could find someone. As Yi Mu Fan kept worrying, Gong Su rushed out furiously from behind him, F***K. The one surnamed Zhang, aren't you doing all this because me? I'll take responsibility, so if you're looking for trouble then come directly at me. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.